Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. What an honor to be here with you all. Thank you so much for the invitation, and it's an honor for me to be able to represent Governor Inslee, our state senate, and all of our state government in congratulating tonight's honorees and telling you how proud we are of the work that GSBA members do each and every single day. You know, tonight is an opportunity for us to recognize greatness. And we all know there's one person who doesn't get this honorable mention or an award every year of these past years that we've done this dinner, and I've come to a number of these, but we all know there's one person who not only puts GSBA on the map each and every single day, but is a leader nationally recognized for her ability to represent the issues and causes of justice, but also to represent the business community in a way that is fair and equitable and just. You know who I'm talking about. Give a round of applause for Louise Sherman, makes this happen. Louise is they're just, I mean, I know I'm speaking to a sympathetic crowd here, but you guys, you know what I mean when I say there's only a handful of Washingtonians like Louise. It's really remarkable. And so, but thank you to the entire staff, to all the volunteers, to everyone serving food this evening, for making this evening a success. And you know, I want to say a few things about what we're here to celebrate in addition to our honorees tonight. Because I think there's a lot to celebrate. In a time as dark as this is in our politics and in our country, I think there's a lot to be happy about. You know, people, sometimes when you say things, when you talk about celebrating, a lot of times people will say, well, what are you saying? We're done? What are you saying? Things are good? No, we're not saying that, but we're saying, you know what? I remember I was with you all in 2009 when we celebrated R71, in 2012 when we celebrated R74. It matters. You have to celebrate the wins and then get ready for the next fight. So we've got a lot to celebrate. We got a lot to celebrate. I want to tell you, part of my job is to be the president of our state senate, of your state senate. And I couldn't be more excited that for the first time ever, we have not one, but two LGBTQ women represented in the state senate, Emily Randall, of 26th district, and Claire Wilson of the 30th district. They're gonna continue, yeah, give them a round of applause, you go ahead. But they're gonna continue in a proud tradition of LGBTQ representation that has led to the wins that you've all been a part of, from making sure we have the country's strongest anti-discrimination law, to winning first domestic partnerships and then marriage, to fighting back against hateful anti-trans legislation, to finally banning the barbaric practice of conversion therapy last year. All of these were done because of the advocacy and hard work and volunteerism of the people in this room, but they were also done because of the leadership of LGBTQ senators and representatives who showed up and educated and taught and persuaded and charmed and threatened other legislators until we got good laws passed in this state and got rid of the bad ones. So representation matters. Representation matters. You heard Representative Jayapal talking about that just a minute earlier. And the second thing we're here to celebrate tonight that I'm really excited about is the spirit of inclusion that we have, and we have it represented right here. And you know, that's the thing about GSBA and the LGBT community in Washington State for as long as I've been around, which is that this is a community that in a time when we're always slicing and dicing our state and our country up, we're always looking for ways to separate and divide from one another. This is a community that's always says, we want allies. We want to grow larger. We want to include more and more in our movement. Because even as the civil rights of LGBT Washingtonians have been threatened, so too have others' civil rights have been threatened. And just as we are there for one another then, we were there for one another then, and we are now. So that inclusion that spirit of saying, you know what, I may be a 3-time cancer surviving, fully blind Iranian American from a mixed religion immigrant family, but you know what? That doesn't mean you don't get me and I don't get you. We're looking for ways to make each other feel at home in this great state. That's what we're about. The third thing we're here to talk about, we're here to represent, to celebrate, is leadership. Now, when I think about leadership, there's a term that I want to mention that it gets thrown around a lot in politics these days, and particularly on my side of the aisle, and it's what I call the P word. I just want to let that hang for a second and see if people will guess what I'm talking. The P word is privilege. P word is privilege. All right, and so you'll hear, and we all use it. You know, we talk about white privilege, we talk about male privilege, we talk about cis privilege. As a blind man, I may talk about sighted privilege. We talk about privilege a lot, and one of the things that you hear a lot of times from folks who share our values is you'll hear people say something like, you know, you better check your privilege at the door. And I get it. To the extent that they mean stop acting so entitled, I agree with them. But here's the thing. To me, what leadership means is it's true that I've been living my whole life as an Iranian American in a country where that identity's been toxic ever since I was born, and that I'm blind in a country that was built by people who aren't blind for people who aren't blind. That's all true. But it's also true that I've been given tremendous gifts. I had parents who provided for me. I had the opportunity to get health care when I had cancer as a kid, and to get an education and go on and become a lawyer and then work for all of you in this amazing job. So I also have lots of privilege. The idea, my view of leadership, is not saying check your privilege at the door, but keeping your privilege on you and then using it to help other people who aren't as fortunate, right? That's what it's about. And look, everyone here has faced a deficit of privilege. We all have, in one way or another. And because we're inclusive, we recognize and respect one another's struggles, and we support one another. But everyone in this room has also experienced privilege. To all of those who are fortunate enough and worked hard enough to be in a position to run a business, to work in the business community, to earn a middle-class wage or better, you all demonstrate leadership when you come together as a business association and say, we're going to use the economic privilege that we have to make our community better, to make our state better. That's what leadership is. It's not about checking that privilege at the door. It's about saying, we better damn well use that privilege here at the business association to make this a better state. So we're here to celebrate leadership. And then finally, we're here to celebrate, you know it's your theme tonight, justice. We're here to celebrate justice and justice for all. We have so many great champions, from state Supreme Court justices, attorneys, advocates, activists, business leaders who fought for justice. And here's the deal. You guys who've heard me speak before, you've heard me talk about my childhood. You've heard me talk about what it was like when the other kids were playing out on the playground and the school didn't want to let me play with them because, well, they knew that I'd recently become blind, and I think more importantly, maybe they knew my mother was a litigator. So while the other kids were playing on the slippery jungle gym, the playground, they kept me by the side of the school with the recess monitors and wouldn't let me play with them. So why are you laughing at that? That wasn't funny. I hated that. So I went home, I told my parents what had happened, and my mom went to the school and took me with her so I could learn how to advocate for myself. And she told the principal of the school, you know, I'm going to take my son to your school over the weekend and teach him how to get around the jungle gym. And he may learn it his way around the playground differently than other kids, but he's going to learn it just as well as any other kid. And she said, you know, it may happen that my son may slip and fall, and he may slip and fall and break his arm. That's a fear that any mother has. But she said, I can fix a broken arm. I can never fix a broken spirit. So I tell you that, I tell that story as often as I do, because it's the moment I realize the importance of justice for all. to when I realized that I deserved. Because when you're a kid, you don't know. When you're a kid, you don't necessarily know. And so when I learned that lesson that, okay, if other kids are going to go out there and play on the swing set, then I better be able to go out and play there on the swing set. And if they can do it with dignity, and they can do it with self-confidence, and they can do it and feel proud of themselves, then I can do it in that way. And when I learned that lesson, it's what led me to go on and fight for myself and then ultimately fight for others. And that's what these honorees have been doing. Because we know that just as, and thankfully, we have wonderful legislation to advance the cause of justice this year in the state legislature. For example, Senator Marco Lias's legislation to further protect trans children from bullying in schools by requiring schools to create policies that promote justice and recognize the inherent dignity of every kid. Policies that promote justice, like Senator Emily Randall's bill to make sure that there's true health care parity for every single one of our trans Washingtonians when they go into the health care system. And this one, with your help, GSBA has been integral to this. How about this for Justice for All? How about having an LGBTQ commission for the first time in the state of Washington, just like we have a women's commission and a veterans commission, to make sure that just as we look for opportunity for minority and women-owned businesses, that we're also doing that for every single one of the businesses represented here. That's what Justice for All looks like. And you'll see it in the work of the honorees here tonight. So, because we celebrate inclusion, because we celebrate leadership, because we celebrate justice, and because we celebrate the great strides and representation that we've made tonight, I'm so blessed to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me. On behalf of Governor Inslee and myself, congratulations to all of you. God bless. Take care.